Also, that one won't exist anymore. So
No, and I haven't put any of the tags in this one because obviously I put all the tags in the other one. Right, so we should be live now. Let me just double check.
yeah, it says live now.
Yeah,
Yes,
we are
we
live.
Okay,
Hello, everybody. We're back.
Hello.
We were lost, everyone. So let me just see if I can update the Facebook post. What I just did. I don't know if you've got anyone on yet.
Well, I'm
I've got a little
on.
message up here.
Right. Apologies about this. I tell you what. While I'm just doing this, if you guys could just say your thoughts about Ghostbusters 2, and I'm just going to be updating the
Ghostbusters 2 or Ghostbusters Afterlife?
2, just while we're doing it, going through this.
I'll let you
Ghostbusters
go,
2.
Aaron, because my memory for Ghostbusters 2 is not good.
Oh, I think I have. Well, I've got fond memories of Ghostbusters 2. I actually think it's a decent sequel. I think what I liked about it was the fact that I thought the chemistry was really still there between all the Ghostbusters. I thought there were some really, really funny moments in it. I thought the addition of the slime was a clever way to expand on what we got in the original. And I love the idea of this entity in the painting at the museum. And that guy at the museum with the funny accent. I can't even remember where he was from. Was it South Africa? I don't know. It was some weird accent. I thought he was hilarious. And I thought it was a real high point of that one. So I've got fond memories of Ghostbusters 2. I don't think it's anywhere near as maybe. Obviously, it's not. I don't think. If I was going to score Ghostbusters 1 or 10, which I would, and I think I already have because I have reviewed it, I'd probably Ghostbusters 2 an 8, something like that. You know what I mean? I think it's certainly very good.
Awesome. And if anyone waiting in there, please just bear with us a second. My last stream got taken down, and I'm furiously just trying to reset it up. So,
but I mean, as well, what I think is interesting is for so many years they wanted to bring back Ghostbusters, and the closest they ever got was the video game, the Ghostbusters, the video game, because all the people do the voice acting for that, and it was written by Dan Aykroyd and things. And apparently the reasons why they never managed to get back was because Bill Murray and Harold Ramis had a huge fallout. It was it was Groundhog Day because Harold Ramis was the director for that film. And they only really made up, my understanding is, on Harold Ramis's deathbed, basically.
Oh dear.
That's all. They didn't speak for like 20 years. I don't know what they fell out about. I mean, because Groundhog Day is a classic, isn't it, really? So I don't know what they fell out about. So that's why Bill Murray was always reluctant to come back and do another one for all them years.
I didn't know. I always wondered why he wouldn't. I didn't know that. I knew there was a bit of like tension, but I didn't know exactly where it came from, sort of thing. I was always like, why won't you do it? But then again, maybe all these years, maybe we got the film we needed. Maybe the wait was a good thing.
Maybe so, because if this had come back, maybe you could imagine in the 90s, if they'd have followed Ghostbusters 2 in 2 or 3 years after that, in the 90s or something, it probably would have been an even more filtered down version of Ghostbusters 2 even, and it probably would have been a really poor sequel. So, yeah, I mean, whereas I think we all wanted another one, maybe it was never meant to be. Sometimes things just happen the way they happen, don't they?
Yeah. Well, this is for a whole new generation, though, now, isn't it? We can enjoy it, and then our kids can enjoy it as well. Isaac adored it. He loved it. So we were all, and Darren loved it, and he's quite hard to please, and he really enjoyed it. He didn't cry.
I think that'll do. I just the lesson learned: don't play trailers on live streams. Okay, I prefer it like that. Okay, so we're just going to go back to some of the issues that I had with this movie, and I'd be interested to hear your parts of it. Now, before I kind of go into this, though, I was vague on my standard review, but here I'm going to go into great detail. And in case you're joining this stream, I'm just going to remind everyone that this is going to be a big spoiler review. I think you have to watch this in context to the reality that the first two films set out. as this takes place in the original timeline, you have to kind of compare the world that those two films occupy. And I don't think this film does a good enough job of making it, and I'll explain why. So, first of all, I'll say my points, and anyone in the comments who wants to jump in, and obviously Lisa and Aaron can address what I say. So this might seem, some of these things are going to seem nitpicky. I'll say that right off the bat. But when you add them all up, to me, it feels sloppy. So the original Ghostbusters was set in 1984. I have a list.
Dear me, he's done an essay.
I have. I wanted to come prepared because I knew I'd be the outlier here. Part 2 was made in 1989, but I think it takes place 2 years after the first one. So realistically, that takes place in 1986. This one takes place in 2020, which means it's 34 years apart. Okay, so that means Callie, the mum, should be about 33 because it's not established that, you know, Callie says she's never seen her father, right? She's never seen her father, and that's assuming Egon got kind of right in there straight after the second film ended, essentially.
Which is doubtful.
I thought she said that her father was okay with the, you know, what's his name, Finn Wolfhard's character. I thought he knew his granddad, but then when the girl was born,
Callie said she'd never met him.
Did she? Oh, am I getting that confused? I'm getting that confused with something else.
Or maybe it was a baby, but you know, it's essentially has never met the father. But what I was getting at was timeline-wise, it seems very for Egon to have a daughter that old, it doesn't really make sense, right? And that's assuming he got someone pregnant straight away after the second film had finished. Okay, and you've got to bear in mind and again, I've only seen this once, so I can't refer back to it. But when Phoebe talks to Ray on the phone, he gives some backstory about why he and Egon fell out. And from what I remember from it, it didn't sound like he fell out straight away. So again, it kind of, the timeline is a little muddled, if you ask me. Because it sounded like that there was a few things, you know, some periods of time before Egon and the rest of them kind of fell out, which again, it doesn't really fit time-wise, if you ask me. Again, that's going to sound nitpicky, but there's a few of these things. So I thought it would have been better for, in my opinion, to have a story about the daughter, you know, Egon's daughter, rather than granddaughter, because timeline-wise, it makes more sense. I think realistically, having Egon have a, you know, the actress who plays Callie is 40. So it doesn't make sense. Again, I know that sounds nitpicky. What do you think about that? My first critique.
Well, I don't really have an argument in a sense of, yeah, the timings probably don't make sense, but I'm a very tolerant film watcher, and I'm not bothered. It doesn't bother me in a sense of, but also
I know it sounds really nitpicky.
I understand why Jason Reitman did it, because he wanted younger audiences today to be part of the film, whereas in the 80s it was different. Other than things like the Goonies and what have you, Ghostbusters wouldn't have worked in 1984 with a child cast. It just
I don't know.
wouldn't
You
work.
look at E.T.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, they were going for
Monster Squad
with the film they delivered in 1984. It was right on the edge of, like, there were things there for kids and there were things there for adults. Remember that scene in the fire station, you know, where the ghost is like messing about with Ray on the bed and things like that? I didn't understand that when I was a kid, but as an adult, you get it. Yeah. And there's so the humor is right on the edge. So it's for adults and it's for kids. Whereas this one, it is very, very family friendly, more so than the original Ghostbusters. The tone is different, but it's a different time. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's not the 80s anymore. So I understand why he shifted but you've got to remember as well, Jason Reitman grew up on the Ghostbusters sets. Yeah. He was a kid on those sets. We already know this. Bill Murray and everybody's been talking about it in interviews. So he's telling the story from a childlike perspective, I think, from a different perspective than his dad. So that's my take on it.
I mean, I understand why they have children in it, but again, just on a nitpick, and kind of somewhat of a nitpicky thing to me, the kind of the timing of it just seems a little wonky. And it when I say wonky, I mean sloppy. Next thing is there's no mention of the mother, as from what I remember, like the person that Egon, would have got with, and Callie's mum. She's not mentioned.
I thought it was going to be Janine, when she turned up.
Yeah, I did.
I thought it was going to be her. I thought she was going to say, "Hi, Mum,"
because they had a bit of a flirtation, didn't they?
Maybe that'll happen. Maybe there'll be a second one, and that'll come up. Who knows?
It could be, but I thought it should have been addressed. Even if they say, "Oh, she died," do you know what I mean? There was just like, to me, it was like there was just that missing. There's no mention of it.
I was just enjoying myself too much to care.
I'm a bit like you, Lisa. I mean, if someone said to me as an exercise, go away and do what you've done, Leo, and analyze it critically, I would probably come up with very similar stuff to you, maybe even more and some different stuff. But because it made me feel happy.
Yeah,
I can dismiss it.
I'm not trying to take that away. But here's my thing: is that I can enjoy a film. I like B movies, as you know, and I can enjoy a film on a level where I know the film is crap. I know the film is crappy, but I can still enjoy it. I love Battle Beyond the Stars. I'm not saying that's a good film. I enjoy it, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy Ghostbusters. But what I am saying is that this movie. And again, if you use the first movie as a kind of a comparison, how well that fit together, and I'll give you some examples of where I compare the two in a minute. How those kind of like the elements of that film kind of worked compared to this one, where I feel it's a lot of the stuff is just kind of like thrown together and doesn't make huge amounts of sense. Next thing, Phoebe not knowing about the Ghostbusters that existed, to me. If someone who's interested in science would know, like it's like someone that intelligent not knowing the moon landing happened. There's no mention of the what's it called, the Statue of Liberty walking around. That would be like again,
But they don't actually reference Ghostbusters 2 in this film, do they? I'm not even sure it actually existed. No. I don't think I'm not sure if this is a bit like the Halloween film and it's completely ignored Ghostbusters 2. Because there didn't seem to be any reference to it at all in this film.
It was the older brother knew all about the Ghostbusters and she didn't. You would have thought, like you say, with her interest in science, you would have thought that she'd have been interested.
Even if Ghostbusters 2 didn't exist, I still think someone who's that in tune with science would know that there was a 16-foot marshmallow man walking about. Right, Lisa, would you mind just catching us up with the comments?
Yes, we have, and again, apologies, Tevye Smolka, who's obviously a big fan. It feels like a great blast from the past, which I approve. Is really happy. Spoiler, if you're watching this, that they brought back the original Ghostbusters. That made him really happy. I'm saying, well, I cried, and so did. Is that he or she? I do apologize, Tevye. Someone else, Mosh Dog, actually made me cry. At least they done it right.
He was very clever. He knew how to pull on the heartstrings.
Yeah, I thought the Egon stuff was very.
It was brilliant.
Sorry, just the last comment. Loved that they got to pass the torch to the next generation. If anything, this feels like Star Wars Force Awakens done right. And
good point.
Ghostbusters too.
Yeah. It is a lot like Star Wars Force Awakens, and that's a soft reboot. So my next nitpick is I've titled this Nurture, Not Nature. Why is Phoebe exactly like Egon, whereas the mother is so different in the way she looks, her interest in science, her awkwardness? It's like saying that is inherently like passed on through DNA.
You can inherit mannerisms.
I thought that when I watched it, and then I just kind of came to peace with it in a sense of sometimes it skips a generation. You know?
I can understand physical traits, but like I don't know. To me, obviously, it's essentially saying we'll ignore nurture, will just have nature. Does that make sense? Because the mum is very, very kind of grounded. And it seems like, how is Egon's granddaughter more or less the kind of like the reincarnation of him? And maybe they could have said that, I don't know. But it just seemed like there's no real reason for her to be like that. Now, here's where I'm going to give you an example of how this compares to the original film, right? In Ghostbusters 2, right, Egon mentions how his parents didn't give him toys, right? So that's how you see why he's ended up like that, right? But you think of Phoebe's mother and how she's just more or less a kind of like a regular person. There's no real reason why Phoebe is like the spit of Egon to me, other than it just kind of like it makes for a cute story beat. And again, I'm just going to say that's kind of, to me, that's somewhat sloppy writing. There's just no reason for it. And again, if it was like, if you look at the 2016 version, that was kind of like a hyper reality, it's not really kind of realistic, and everything's kind of like a kooky character. I think you can maybe ignore such things. But in the original Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2, that was kind of played straight, and kind of things were. So you have to kind of think this movie is part of that continuity. It should be the same, all right? In my opinion. Okay. So the next thing is kind of more characters, and one of the things. I mean, this is what I'm prepared to be kind of talked around on a little bit. The original Ghostbusters was a team. You felt that you got to know at least all of the three main characters fairly well, and to a degree, Winston, because he was obviously introduced a little later. In this movie, Phoebe is by far and away the central character, who is developed well. Trevor is criminally underdeveloped. I mean, tell me something about Trevor's character.
This is going to just prove your point. Which one was Trevor? Was that podcast? That Finn Wolfhard. I didn't even know his name was Trevor. Yeah, he wasn't used much at all, was he?
Yeah. Just tell me one thing about what his character's like.
Geeky, embarrassing. He likes rock music.
He was quite mechanical. Even though Egon helped him, he got the car going, didn't he?
Okay.
But yeah, he was just teenager. As I said in my review, I don't think they gave Finn Wolfhard enough to do. He was just very teenager.
Yeah. What do you think about Lucky's character?
It's odd that the two big names in it, Paul Rudd and Finn Wolfhard, were probably two of the least utilized, which I actually loved. I loved the fact that they didn't use them as much as I thought they would. So I thought she just stole the whole thing. And from a girl's point of view, I mean, the role model that little girl's going to be to so many nerdy little girls out there.
And I completely agree with you on that one, Lisa. I have to say, she is a great character. And I do think a good role model.
I thought her and Podcast were the two.
Yeah, Podcast was.
I thought he was just one rung down on the ladder. I think from her, she was the lead character. She was the Bill Murray. A Podcast was the Dan Aykroyd, I think. You know what I mean? In regards to, I think they kind of were side by side a little bit. Yeah. And I think the idea was to bring Finn Wolfhard and his love interest was to try and bulk up the team a little bit by the end. But like you say, they weren't nowhere near developed enough as the other characters. But I thought Podcast and the granddaughter definitely were.
Those two characters I would say had adequate development. Especially, obviously, Phoebe and Podcast as well. But the other two, and Lucky, the fourth one, nothing.
Yeah.
No character.
You could argue about that about Ernie Hudson in the original. You know what I mean? I mean, other than a few clever lines that he does at the end, like next time somebody asks if you're a god, you say yes, and that sort of thing. He didn't have an awful lot to do in the original Ghostbusters.
No, but he was kind of more of the everyman. He was a non-scientist who just wanted a job. But
you could argue that about Finn Wolfhard's character to some degree. That he was just a normal teenager.
All right.
Along for the ride almost.
Do you think we'll maybe do another one, and maybe we're sort of being introduced to characters that we may use more? It's like Darren was saying. There was no real need to make Paul Rudd's character a scientist. unless we're possibly going to use him in future and develop a storyline, because he could have been a history teacher. He could have been any kind of teacher. But we've made him a seismologist. I know that ties in kind of to the earthquake thing. But it wasn't really required unless we're possibly going to use him for something else.
And that could be the case. And I agree it's probably, and I personally feel like a sequel to this would probably be stronger. It's going to stand on its own more. But obviously, we don't know if there's going to be a sequel. We can only judge this film as it is.
Keep our fingers crossed.
I personally, and again, this is going to be a huge spoiler. I personally felt the movie would have, because it was like Callie, the mother. She was the estranged daughter of Egon. I felt the emotional connection could have been stronger had it been sort of Callie is the main character, and maybe you could have made her younger, because you could have seen Egon and got kind of like still do a kid almost, and then but having the grandfather be estranged. I don't know. To me, it was like, because to me a lot of the heart of the film was Callie kind of reconnecting with Egon. But because Callie didn't get a huge amount of character, of screen time, I felt they could have got more of an emotional punch had they had.
Again, I can see why Jason Reitman did it, because the film is also, while it's meant for us, as oldies, if you like, who remember the original so fondly, because it's for a new, younger audience as well. They want them to discover it for the first time through the eyes of the granddaughter.
But you could still have it. You could still have Callie
younger.
Maybe not quite as young, but she.
But I think that's why he did it. I'm not saying it's right, but I think that's why he did it.
Should I read some comments? Just catch up with some comments before we move on. Darren has said maybe subconsciously the mother molded her daughter after Spengler. He's written Spangler.
But she said she never met him, so
is this movie as strong as the original movie? No, but you know what? It had heart and soul of the original, which I approve.
She didn't know who he was. She knew who he was because
they'd never met.
No, but she, if you like, she knew probably where she got her science talents from. You know what I mean? Which is could be why she encouraged that kind of. I'm stretching a bit, I know.
Yeah.
Aaron says podcast was very Goonies. He was. I thought he was very like a Goonies character. In fact, if you add in Ghostbusters video game from 2009, this feels like a great epilogue to that story as well. Yeah, because it had the gunner seat and stuff, which was only ever seen in the video game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Darren was really disappointed we didn't see Slimer.
I'm surprised. I like that one. I thought would be a regular appearance.
What? So I say again. I never heard.
Aaron.
Leo.
I think she meant you.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised Slimer wasn't in it, to be honest with you. I thought that's kind of like, because obviously that doesn't age. Your ghost doesn't age, so it would have been.
But I liked Muncher. I thought Muncher was hilarious. I really liked that Muncher.
See, I wasn't bothered that we didn't see Slimer. I thought,
I wasn't.
We did New Ghost, but Darren was really so was Isaac, actually. They wanted to see Slimer. But that's us more or less caught up with comments.
Okay. You mentioned Paul Rudd. To me, again, he was kind of like the Rick Moranis character. And I kind of agree. Maybe he didn't need to be, but he kind of felt like he didn't really have much to do outside of being a host of Vince Clortho. It was kind of like, didn't really have much impact on the story really outside of that, I didn't think.
Apart from the ladies watching the film, well, there's impact there.
Yeah, I thought he was going to become a Ghostbuster. I thought he would end up being like the adult Ghostbuster with the kind of like the
I liked the fact they didn't use him as much, because I thought it was quite brave to not use such a big name, and the fact they didn't need to use him to have an awesome movie.
I said in my review that even though I like Paul Rudd, I was worried that he was going to overshadow this film and like take it over with his star power, because he's such a big actor, big name. And I thought it was brave to use him the way they used him, and I thought it was also a testament to him that he didn't try and overshadow the film. You know what I mean? He was just a character in the film.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk baddies then. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk baddies. So, obviously, again, I'm going to say a huge spoiler alert. this reuses the antagonists from the original film, Gozer, Zool, and Vince Clortho. But the one kind of new one that was mentioned in the original film was Ivo Shandlor, who was the guy in the case, the glass case. So he was kind of mentioned in the first film, and I thought it was what he was kind of wasted because he was like the one new thing that could have been like a mid-level boss. Yeah. And if you remember I don't know, I actually had a clip lined up. I'm not playing that now. In the original film, they say basically, just in case anyone doesn't remember, they say basically he was the leader of a cult of Gozer. So I thought it would have been an idea to have like was it Somerville, the town they were in? You know,
yeah, that rings a bell.
He had 1,000 followers, so this town could have been the I guess the descendants
ancestors.
Of the kind of the cult of Gozer, and you could have had all these kind of like people in there. Could have been this, and obviously he was supernatural himself because obviously he was kind of like a zombie or something. And I thought, oh, cool. There's kind of this new element that you've heard about before, but you've not actually seen. And he's just like that. He's gone. I thought, oh, that's a waste.
It was.
I think that was a little bit of a missed opportunity. I agree that they could have maybe used him a little bit more, but again, it's not something that I dwelled on. You know what I mean?
You know who played him?
I don't actually, but I thought
a big actor.
I thought I recognised him, and at the time I was racking my brains, and even the second time watching it, and I just can't place who it is.
J.K. Simmons.
Ah, that's it, right? Yes, it makes sense now.
Well, I'll just go through the other guys, and that was obviously Gozer, who was obviously the I guess the main bad guy, and then Zool and Vince Clortho, the two terror dogs. And they had more screen time, obviously, than they did in the original movie. But to me, I didn't feel we really learned anything new about them. It was kind of the same. I know they defeated him in a different way. But...
I didn't like the dogs. I'm just echoing something someone's saying here. Mosh dog. Only thing I hated was Mum and Paul being turned into the dogs. I didn't particularly like that either. I thought it was just convenient.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd have preferred to see, like you're mentioning, rather than repeat everything from the front. And this is not taken away because I still love the movie, but if we're going to pick little bits, I would have preferred more emphasis on the guy you're talking about than the original baddies and the two dogs from the first one, although he was mentioned in the first one. But like you say, if it's a whole cult, there was so much you could have played with that, and so many other people could have been brought in, but it just seemed a bit cartoonish, the whole turning into dogs thing. Yeah. Maybe I wasn't keen on that bit either.
I mean, you mentioned The Force Awakens. It's kind of like that kind of more or less redid the original Star Wars. Yeah. Kind of like and I thought if you're going to have the terror dogs and the kind of and Gozer, do something different with them. Have them trying to do something different. But it was kind of the same, and it was kind of like, oh, it's more of the same. A little bit longer, a little bit kind of more stretched out, but. It was just even the kind of where she's approaching him in the kind of like the mist and stuff, and she's saying something like jokey. It's slightly different, but it's more or less the same thing. It was kind of like it seemed a little lazy to me again. And again, if you've just joined the stream, Lisa and Aaran love this movie, and I'm a bit mixed on it. They're just going to go through my issues with it. So I don't think this is a slagging off Ghostbusters Afterlife stream, because it isn't. Those two loved it, and I didn't dislike it.
To be honest, I've seen it twice now, and if I could go back and refill my review, I would give it that 9 out of 10 now, because I originally gave it 8.5. If anything, I enjoyed it a little bit more on a second viewing. But I do acknowledge a lot of these criticisms in the sense of, But I mean, I always think that you can pick any movie you want and critically analyze it and find faults with them. I don't think there's even a 10 out of 10, a perfect film. You could probably critically analyze any film and find faults with them. So I don't actually mind that. I think the reason why I genuinely don't mind it in this film, because I think they were done for the right reasons. Because the 2016 film left such a bad taste in fans' mouths, in everybody's mouth. I think he knew that he really had to really almost gloss over some of the things that you're pointing out. He's probably aware of them himself, Jason Reitman. Do you know what I mean?
Because I don't think the original film does do that. I think the original film is so well written that
it is.
The kind of like any sort of like these sort of like little things, these little nitpicky. And yeah, I get that these a lot of this is nitpicky. But again, this is why I say you have to compare it to the original film because it exists in that universe, and things that I think were done for convenience here, shall we say, weren't done in the original film, in my opinion, at least. Now, again, I'm not saying that you still can't enjoy it for that, and I did enjoy the movie, but when I'm kind of looking at it critically, this is where I got to when we got cut off last time. When I'm looking at a film critically, that doesn't mean to say I'm not enjoying it, but I have to kind of be, to me, this film had some script issues.
It's you're going with the head, Leo. Me and Aaran are in a little nostalgia bubble, and we're going with the heart, aren't we?
I am as well. But here's one I think is going to get very riled up. This is the one I think is going to probably.
Before you do it, should I read to the bottom of the comments?
Go for it before we
just
get into
so
this.
We're covering.
I know where you're going next, Leo. I'm prepared.
Talking about the dogs, Gozer was cool. He got killed off again, which was funny. Thank you to whoever Mosh Dog is who keeps telling people to like and subscribe.
Yes, thank you, Mosh Dog.
Who also know it was J.K. Simmons.
To these two as well.
Sorry? Oh, yes, of course. Darren says it's a shame Rick Moranis didn't get a cameo, and he gave the movie an 8.5, and he thinks the reason for that, Leo will probably touch on later.
Leo's a Ghostbusters Grinch.
A new viewer, Stoner Paranormal Investigations, whose channel I must check out if they've got anything on there. It was good. I liked the dogs, but Mosh is right. Mom being a demon dog was stupid. Tevia gave it a 4.5 out of 5, which is a B+. It was way better than the 2016 one. I think we can all agree with that. That's us. And Darren has said, Leo, the Ghostbusters Grinch.
Oh, that's Darren. Okay. So, Aaran, you were going to guess what I was going to go. Let's see if you're right.
You're going to go straight for the throat of the Ghostbusters, the original crew, aren't you?
Oh.
Okay. I was at 6 on this movie until the original Ghostbusters turned up, and then I went down to a 5.
Me and Darren had the same issue with this. I actually had an issue. The bit where Egon's hand comes over Phoebe's when she's holding the proto, whatever the thing's called. And I loved that, and I thought it was beautiful, but they showed him too much. We didn't need to see him for like 10 or 15 minutes. We didn't need that. I absolutely adored the bit where he turned to Stardust and he went, I thought that was there. I was gone. I was like, woo! And I loved the hand over Phoebe, like he was there, but they showed him too much. That's one that took me out of it a little bit. If they hadn't have showed him so much, I'm probably quite glad they didn't. I'd have been a bit of a mess leaving the cinema. But that was and I think Darren's issue, just way too much.
To be honest, I didn't mind that, but I think where you're going with this, Leo, is the fact that the original Ghostbusters, and I did mention it in my review, I thought, even though it was lovely to see them, it was clear the chemistry had gone. It wasn't there. You know, that chemistry that they had in the first 2 films, it was electric. It just wasn't there, even though they had a couple of nice moments. I get where you're coming from in regards to that, but it was still absolutely delightful to see. I can't help it. I still loved seeing them. You know, I almost jumped out of my seat when I saw them for the first when they turned up.
And they were going to be in it. Did you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I knew they were going to be in it only because I'd seen like interviews with Dan Aykroyd, because this was supposed to come out June last year, wasn't it? So there's plenty of stuff out there and stuff with Dan Aykroyd. And
those like worst kept secrets things, isn't it?
Yeah.
I avoided it all. I had no idea. I'm sat there going, oh my God. I was like blown away by it. So I'm just glad I avoid things.
I don't think they had a choice really because of what happened to Harold Ramis. I think if Bill Murray had been the Grinch on this one and not turned up and decided not to do it, he really would have had a hard time, I think. So, he's even doing the rounds of Bill Murray and doing interviews with them all and stuff. You know what I mean? He looks like he's having a better time with the interviews than he did on set.
Yeah.
Because but the thing is, he's a different actor these days. Bill Murray is not the comedy spark plug he used to be. He's more of a dramatic actor these days, isn't he? So I just don't think he's got it anymore in that sense. Whereas Dan Aykroyd, I thought was okay. I thought he was fine. And Ernie Hudson, I thought was actually okay. I thought it was Bill Murray. That spark wasn't there.
Okay, I'm going to go through what I think, but first I'll get Lisa just to go through the comments quick.
We have got Darren says Egon less would have been more. Tevye said that made me happy. I think he means when the Egon bit at the end. And Watchdog reminds me of Frightness. I think they maybe meant Frighteners.
Yeah.
Dario George, good evening, everybody. Hello, Dario. Tevye, like myself, didn't know they were going to be in it at all, so it was a big surprise. Darren finishes us with a joke. I don't know what it is. From around 1984, what do you call a topless apparition? And there's no answer yet, so I'll tell you when it comes up.
We are waiting, Darren, with bated breath.
He's going to say something about booby. What? Ghostbusters. Really?
Oh.
Dear me. I have to live with this, folks.
Oh, dear. Right. So let me go. I'm going to go through each of the individuals, the Ghostbusters. I actually thought Winston came across the best, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was
very good. I actually missed the end of the very end credit scene.
I didn't. Darren's going at yours. I'm sorry. I apologize. We left. I got the one with Sigourney Weaver in, but when they started with the normal credits, we thought it was done, and we've missed the very last one.
Well basically, it's because Ernie Hudson is now some sort of billionaire. It doesn't really explain it, but he kind of went into, I don't know, business, and he's really rich now. So he's been paying the bills for Egon for decades at the farm and things like that. And he's got the fire station back.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows like the trap, the machine they used to put the traps into at the old Ghostbusters site. That kind of is flashing, so it kind of hints that there's more sort of thing.
Nice. So I thought he, even though I didn't see that bit, I thought him in the he just seemed, because obviously he's aged pretty well, unlike
I thought Dan Aykroyd's not too bad, I think, but he's always wearing hats, isn't he? So
to me, Ray's the one. Okay, so Ray to me seemed very out of character. Saying Egon can burn in hell seemed, I think it's very out of character for him.
It's because he'd buggered off, hadn't he? He'd taken all the equipment and run away and left them with nothing, taken away everything that they'd ever, wanted to be in regards to the Ghostbusters, and he just severed ties and left.
The reason for that, though, I didn't buy, because the reason that was that Ray didn't believe Egon about Gozer, and again, it just didn't. Ray was always the most enthusiastic and kind of like, and to me, if Egon, who was obviously the brains, and to be honest with you, without Egon, there was no Ghostbusters originally, because he was the one that designed everything, and without him, there would have been nothing. If Egon was genuinely, and again, take this as context. See, think about the original film and how they acted in that. If Egon had said there was this new threat and Gozer was going to, because considering they've met Gozer, so they know it exists. To me, it just seemed like a real convenience. That we didn't believe Egon, so he's got off and done his own thing, and then Ray's going, oh yeah, Egon can burn in hell. To me, that just did not seem like Ray's character as well, and I think it's compounded when we see him at the end of the film where he turns up and he's still like super kind of like enthusiastic and says these kind of witty lines.
Yeah.
I would have thought if he turned up and he was kind of like, fuck this guy or something,
Marty,
but you could see immediately on that phone call with the granddaughter when he tries that stance, Egon can burn in hell, and then she tells him that he's passed. You can see him change immediately. He softens immediately. Do you know what I mean? So as soon as that phone call's ended, he's straight out there getting the other Ghostbusters. However, I can't believe I'm doing this, Leo, but I'm going to actually add to your argument here and prop up your argument because it's just hit me now. If Egon had left all them years ago with all the equipment and everything, how come they turn up at the end of the film all kitted out? So, that's another plot point, but I don't care because they turn up and they're the Ghostbusters.
If that guy was like paying the rent for the house for all that time, does he not have a clue what Egon was actually doing that whole time? Like the big massive crap on the ground and stuff? Maybe
so, but I don't know. I don't think he was keeping that close an eye. He was just kind of keeping an eye on him financially.
Ray mentions it's all closed. The firehouse is all closed, isn't it? So at that point in the film, there's no, they don't know anything about it. And I think maybe I can maybe accept your argument about how he softens, but there's just the kind of the whole fact of Ray not kind of believing Egon. That was just like, we need a reason why Egon's gone off on his own. And obviously,
that was
the fact that obviously Harold Ramis has passed away, and that has got to happen. Obviously he's not there, but I think they could have had a better way of kind of like that was more in character. But it just seems like so out of character that Egon would just go off on it because he was always the kind of like the most logical one, It just if anything, Ray would have been the one because he's the one that's kind of more impetuous,
impulsive.
So I think that kind of the way that kind of situation was written was more done out of convenience and really kind of in kind of tune with the kind of the character. And
they had to do it because that's the only way they could really do it because obviously he passed away in real life. So they had to write him into the film somehow, didn't they? And that was probably the best way.
I think it could have been done better. I also think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more pathos, considering that ultimately Gozer has killed Egon. Gozer was, I know it was one of the terror dogs, but ultimately it was Gozer that was responsible for Egon's death. And bear in mind, this happened. They say it happened a week ago in film, doesn't it? They say he died last week. The original 3 Ghostbusters, when they turn up, essentially meeting the person that's killed their friend a week ago, cracking jokes. I don't know if it was kind of
I get that. Yeah, I thought of that.
They're picturing all those middle-aged men and women sat in the cinema going with them all turning up and all weighing themselves in excitement, and I just don't want to put a downer on it. I think
I know.
Most of the problems can be explained as just wanting to satisfy the fans, even if maybe that wouldn't have happened and maybe he wouldn't have said this. We're all sat there in a state of nostalgic bliss and probably not real. It's like, and I apologize for comparing it, it's like me with the Saw movies. I know most of them are crap. I still love them. I love them. I can't help it. But that movie, even though this maybe shouldn't have happened, the age wasn't right. This person shouldn't have said this or that. It was that I was in the bubble, and it could have bared his bum to the camera. I wouldn't have cared. I was happy.
You would love it.
And me the same. I think now I'm generally not one of these that honestly gets emotional watching a lot of films. I cried at the end of Star Trek 2 when Spock died. And things like that, and that was when I was a kid. But I'm not a weepy person generally at movies. And this film I've seen twice now, and it's choked me twice. So I just think it was very, very clever how they did it, and they were smart in how they filmed an awful lot of the film. And yes, I can't really forcefully argue with any of your points, Leo. I really can't.
Yeah,
I
just don't mind them. You know what I mean? They're the niggles.
I'm the same.
But then I'll say this: it's like one of these things. Like I understand, and this is why I say I don't want to take people's enjoyment away, and I appreciate you can like it. Again, I use the Battle Beyond the Stars. I love Battle Beyond the Stars, but I critically know that it's not a critically good film, but I still enjoy it. But obviously, when I'm kind of like thinking about a film on a critical basis, I've got to kind of think, is this well made? And again, I'll use the example of how well written the first film was and how the situations and the characters seem so natural in that film compared to this one, where it's fun and it's nostalgia, but I just don't think it's nearly as well written. And you've already kind of, I won't spend too much time on Venkman, but yeah, you more or less said it. He just seemed like Bill Murray. He just kind of turned up because he felt like he had to be honest. And we kind of covered Egon. The only other thing I would say about Egon is I don't really understand why he was like, why would he not contact his daughter? You know, why would I get that he wants to kind of go and protect, you know, this farm or whatever, but I don't see why you still can't have a relationship. It's not like the Ghost of the Mafia. They're not going to put like a hit out on his daughter or something like that. You know, it just seemed like, again, it was.
I took it that he was trying to protect them by keeping them away from him while he dealt with this threat. That's how I took it.
Yeah, fair
if
enough,
there's a relationship, she might come visit. And
I agree, but again, I'm going to prop up Leo's argument a little bit here. If that was the case, wanted to protect them, and it was, when they turn up at the farm, why did he not do everything in his power to try and get them out of there? Because he knew they were in danger. He was actually actively helping his grandchildren. To fix the car and for her to find the equipment. He actually wanted her to find that trap, but the trap that she found that Paul Rudd opened actually started the chain of events for Gozer to come back. So it was in his best interest for that trap never to be found. So yeah, I agree, Leah. You can pull it apart, but again, I don't mind any of that stuff because it's what the movie is. You know what I mean?
If you watched a film that you weren't attached to in nostalgia, would you be more critical on it?
Yes.
Would you be harder on it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that means you're giving this more a pass on its issues because you have nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
I
don't mind. Shoot, man. Shoot, man. I don't mind.
Okay.
I'm not working for the BBC or anything, so I don't mind.
All right, we'll just give us a catch up with the comments if you would be so kind.
Where did we get to last time? Tevia says the Egon stuff was such a great tribute. The final one does set something up for the future, but I don't know where they're going. I'm very intrigued for the future of the Ghostbusters series. So am I. The first post-credit scene was really funny. Yes, it was. A Leoism. Egon vanished as no bugger believed him about ghosts. That's my husband. I've no idea. Let's be honest. After the 2016 movie, we needed something over nothing. Agree. And watch them again. Like and subscribe to this awesome channel. So there you go, Leo. You're getting picked up there.
I've just seen that comment from you. I think I've just seen that comment. Is frame 34, Darren?
Yeah, that's him.
He's asking us to do Passion of the Christ next week.
Oh, don't.
Never seen that.
Maybe he wanted his grandkids to finish what he started. I think he did, but like that argument, would you put your grandchild at risk if you've not had a relationship with them all these years because you were trying to protect them? So I think that's what you were saying, Leo, wasn't it? Too right, it's Ghostbusters. Definitely needs a pass. Oh, I think that's the 2016 one. Oh, it was awful, wasn't it?
I think I was saying to Leo earlier, you know, I'm doing like these dumpster fire reviews. I'm definitely going to be doing a dumpster fire review on Ghostbusters 2016. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to watch it to do it again, because the first time I watched it, I left 3/4 of the way through.
Oh, it's awful.
So
that reminds me more of the real Ghostbusters. That's almost like a film of that, if you ask me.
Did you like it?
Not really, no. I didn't hate it as much as some people, but I didn't like. I'll give it like a 4 out of 10.
I really like Melissa McCarthy, but more so in serious roles. But I hated it. I thought it was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. It was a bad film, but there was like, I didn't actually mind the kind of the neon ghosts in that one because I thought it was kind of like it was trying to be different. You know. Anyway, I won't talk too much about that one, but this is a better film than that. Don't get me. I'm not saying, you know, this is not a bad film.
Do you honestly think, right? You've just said you'll give Ghostbusters 2016 a 4 out of 10. Do you think Ghostbusters Afterlife is only 1 point better than Ghostbusters 2016?
I've got to judge the film by its own things. Like, I'll give like a B movies, for example, an 8 out of 10, but I might give like, I don't know, Big Trouble in Little China an 8 out of 10. So it's kind of, you've got to judge it on the film that it is, the film it's trying to be. To me, the Ghostbusters 2016 was not trying to be this kind of like, it was trying to be more of a wacky comedy. So I'm trying to look at it in the context of that. But no, I don't think it's a good, I can't even remember what I gave it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think this is a better film. But I do think there is, I don't think it's, you know, it's, to me, it's like a good one-time watch. You know, I'm not that fussed about seeing it again, for example.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to take that away from you. Yeah. I'm not, you know, obviously, anyone who likes it, this is literally just my opinion. And, you know, and obviously I want people, if people like it, that's, you know, great. And I go for it. And, but for me, it was a little sloppy. And then I think Lisa mentioned about Janine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't really understand why she was in this town. If she wasn't kind of with Egon, it was just
popped in and out, and that was it. It's like,
why is she there and then just disappears?
It explained that she kind of looked after his accounts or something like that, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
But maybe she was connected to Ernie Hudson. Maybe we'll learn more in the sequel, because if Ernie Hudson was looking after his bills and things, maybe he employed Janine.
Maybe, but then you're retconning issues, and you know you can only base it on the film that it is that we see now. And to me, it was like, let's have a cameo from a person from the first film.
Like, let's
even
show
though
it
it doesn't really make sense.
I genuinely thought she was the mother. I genuinely thought she was going to turn around and say, "Oh, Mom, what are you doing here?" or something like that. I because they definitely had a thing. Even though she got with Rick Moranis in the second one, she had a thing for him in the first one, didn't she?
Mm.
I think that would have made more sense while she was there. Because if she's just looking after his, I don't know why she would have. I mean, she's moved to this small town.
I mean, she was definitely just there for fan service. Yeah. That was the only reason.
Happened to walk in because she didn't know they were going to be there. She just happened to walk in. Again, it's just like, it's not clever. Like, it's not clever scripting. It's a little lazy scripting. So going on to kind of less the character stuff, more moments kind of in the film itself. So, and I've seen, and I'm going to wrap. This is a point that someone else made, and but I agree with it. So I watched a review, and they said that there's no like sense of wonder when, like, for example, and I have kind of, but when Phoebe realizes Egon's ghost is there, there's no reaction from her. You know, she just kind of accepts it. And again, if we're led to believe, and again, I'm going to reference how the first film does this. We're led to believe she's a person of science. Think about the library ghost, and when Egon and the guys go into the library ghost, they see this ghost, how they react, and they're looking for a ghost. And this is in continuity, so you have to judge it by the same kind of like frame of reference, if that makes sense. But she discovers a ghost, and she's a person of science, yet there's no reaction from her.
Yeah, I agree. When she notices that chess piece moving and things like that. Yeah, I must admit, I did think that certainly the first time I saw the film, I thought, would that not scare you a little bit more? Yeah. Especially when the chess piece flies off the board, sort of thing.
Yeah. I thought she just had quite an unreactionary type of personality. Anyway, she was very like sedate, you know what I mean, most of the way through. So she doesn't strike me as the kind of character that would like whoa overreact to things, but
you'd at least be scientifically interested, if not like react. Because if she's kind of very logically minded, then you'd be at least think, wow, I've discovered that there's proof of paranormal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I saw someone mention it, that they wonder if her character might be forgotten what the bloody word is. Autism. Might have autism.
Yeah.
I think that you could explain it that way, but it needed to be, if that was the case, it needed to be established.
Yeah, if she'd have had Asperger's or something like that, it probably would. But
again, that would have been an interesting wrinkle to have, I think.
Which is the case, like in a lot of you say the fact she's not very good socially, but she's hyper intelligent, that sort of plays into that side of things as well.
And that would have been an interesting, to have a lead character that was autistic or Asperger's or something like that. I think would have been an interesting wrinkle, but it had to be established. It was, and again, just think of how the original film, how those characters reacted to a ghost. Anyway. Yeah. And then this is the main criticism that I've seen, is the kind of the fan servicey stuff. And I'm just gonna sort of say one thing: the little marshmallow men.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of them?
I thought they were.
I liked them. The film didn't need them, but I loved them.
I agree. Yes, they weren't needed, but they were funny and they were cute, and kids will love them. It's like people. Was it you that said, Leo? I think it was your review. I've watched so many reviews of this that it was almost like trying to put as much stuff in that we can sell to people. Sell to people's kids. So yeah, you're probably right, because
I'd buy a bag of mini marshmallow men. I don't mind.
That's it, isn't it? It's just, unfortunately, then it's a case of the film being an advert for products.
Yeah. They've always done that, though.
Think of the reason why the Marshmallow Man was in the first film was because Ray specifically thought of something innocent, and that's why there was a Marshmallow Man there. That's why it was there. And again, the writing in the first film explains why there's a Marshmallow Man here.
Yeah.
Here, they just turn up. For
Absolutely, but they turned up because it's Ghostbusters and they wanted to put some cute little marshmallow men in it. And I don't mind.
Storytelling. It's lazy storytelling. You're apologising for it because you enjoy it, and I'm not taking that away for you. But you've got to admit it's lazy.
Here, Darren says Aaron's eating the marshmallow men now.
I wish they were. They're not the little crisps.
Like, I get if you wanted to have like little cute monsters, but there's no real reason why they should be the marshmallow.
It's the same as all the other problems. It was all for the fans, wasn't it? It was all for people like me and Aaron that were sat there at the cinema going and just didn't care why they were there. It's not what film reviewers should be doing, but we were just
what fans should be doing, and that's why I think you have a disparity in the critic reviews and then the audience reviews, because they're not thinking about it critically. They're just kind of like junk food, you just enjoy this, but you're not thinking of the ingredients. It's kind of like that. Whilst there's so many reviews, and even if I'm not reviewing the film, I'm still bloody, I'm still kind of like pulling it apart. So yeah, and it was kind of like it's what I'm going to refer to going forward as the Baby Yoda effect. Let's have kind of like this Baby Yoda kind of style merchandising. I don't know if that will happen because obviously the pandemic, but initially that was probably the mindset. They kind of want to have little, Stay Puft, figures and things like that. And again, the kind of the remote control ghost trap. I would have thought it would have been better had they had created that rather than it kind of existing. Maybe podcast was to do that. I know he was driving it, but I thought it would have been if they actually made it. And again, it just seemed like let's sell trap remote control cars and things like this.
I don't know, because they don't go that mad into merch. It's more Funko Pop type stuff these days and collectibles and stuff. I'm not sure I'm going to go to the supermarket in a couple of weeks and there's going to be like shelves full of Ghostbusters toys and things. I just don't see it. You go into
the supermarket. I went shopping today and there's Ghostbusters on bloody Whatsits. It's all things like that, and they want it. You've got to bear in mind the original Ghostbusters didn't really have any merchandising. It wasn't until the real Ghostbusters cartoon out. The cartoon, that's when they actually started having. There's no figures and stuff for Ghostbusters when that came out, because it was like you said earlier. It's a little bit of an adult sort of theme. But here, my cynical brain is thinking, right, how can we, rather than kind of making this good, how can we make more money out of it? And I understand that, the whole, it's a business, you know. I do understand that, but
it's probably a case of, and it's how films work these days, especially when they're family films. It's probably a discussion with the people that are funding the film. Yes, you can have that extra 10 million for the budget, but there's got to be some product placement in there, or there's got to be some advertising for this toy we're looking to sell, or whatever. I get it, but I don't think it was in your face type stuff like some films that you watch. You know what I mean?
Come on.
I don't necessarily. I mean, the Marshmallow Men were,
yeah,
but I still liked them because they were cute. But I don't think some of the other stuff.
They were. And I won't argue with that. But it's just why they were in there.
Right.
Aaron's talking about your cheesy balls, so I think it's time to do a.
They're not cheesy. The barbecue beef. Thank you.
Oh, beefy balls then. Jonathan, I didn't enjoy the pointless teen activity placement in the film. Pointless. Who were they again? You know, the friends. It's like I agree with that. It's like, what was the point of that? Tevia says, "Problem Hollywood doesn't handle autism world in movies." Well, they should. That would have been a really, really nice thing to have. Right,
but you know what? If they'd have done that, if they'd have done it, then you would have got people claiming they're trying to be woke.
All right.
So you know what I mean? That's what would have happened, wouldn't it?
People are never that way, are they?
No.
Right, we'll not read cheesy balls, Aaron. In the end, Mario says, "Is this one worth a watch?" Most definitely. We're sort of like this discussion because everyone loves it. This discussion is really to put forward different points of view and like analyze it more so than just be nostalgic about it, which me and Aaron are. But we didn't.
I'll say it's worth a watch. You know, I didn't like it as much as these two, but I would still say it's worth a watch.
It is cheesy, yes, but you know what? I enjoyed them for what they were. I don't think they know that we're talking about Aaron's cheesy balls there. But they weren't in the movie that much. Oh, that's the Stay Puff, I think they're maybe talking about. Yep, so we're at the bottom.
But what I loved about that Stay Puff scene as well was it led to that scene with Paul Rudd where he tried to calm down the demon dog. That was brilliant. I laughed. You know, when he's in the supermarket and he's trying to get away from the marshmallow little men, and he's face to face with the demon dog,
right?
And Paul Rudd looks at it and he's about to try and say something cute to it, and it growls at him, and I nearly choked on my drink. I thought that was hilarious, and he chucked his ice cream at him, didn't he?
I can't even. My brain, I'm not even remembering. Yeah,
he chucks his tub of ice cream at the demon dog and it bounces off his head. It was funny.
Yes, I do think I remember that bit now.
Yeah, it's that was kind of Paul Rudd's only real scene, wasn't it? To be honest, that was the only scene that he was in on his own.
Yeah.
I did think it was weird that he went on a date with the mum, and then he's kind of not mentioning that he's just seen, you know, like a massive demon come out of the. He's talking about like sides, but we won't mention. I've just seen like a huge demon, but I'll go on a date, and that was a bit weird first. Right. What do I put next? So, what do we think of kids playing with nuclear technology?
It's all right. I'd let my son do it.
That one I can kind of forgive because it's the whole, you know.
But I do agree with you. I mean, that first scene where she actually handles the proton pack, she handled it remarkably well when you consider how powerful it was, and they struggled to control it in the first film. Grown men,
it is, yeah,
and she absolutely, you know, got to grips with it very, very easily, and she was trapping ghosts with it on her own very, very easily. And the first one, it took 3 of them to trap a ghost, and they wrecked a hotel. So I get it. It was all I completely get it, but it's still, like I say, it didn't spoil the enjoyment for me. But it didn't follow the rules of the franchise, I suppose you could argue.
I think Lisa mentioned the Force Awakens, and again, it's to me, it's kind of like, and people say it's the Force Awakens done right. I think it's the Force Awakens done again, if you want my opinion. But it's like, and another thing that people don't talk about with the Force Awakens, that I think is true of this film, it undercuts the original. So if you think of Return of the Jedi and how they defeat the Empire and all that, and then we have Force Awakens, the Empire's back, and everyone's in the same position that they were in, you know. And then this film is kind of like, you know, the Ghostbusters have disbanded, it's all gone to crap. So the kind of victory that they had in Ghostbusters 2, which is the same as how they started in Ghostbusters 2, if you remember, because at the beginning of Ghostbusters 2, they were in this shit after Ghostbusters 1, and now it's happened again. So kind of like this film basically says, oh yeah, after Ghostbusters 2, it's all gone to crap, and everyone had a miserable life, apart from Winston, apparently.
Winston's all right.
So again, it's sort of kind of like it kind of the victory that they had in Ghostbusters 2 was kind of then undercut.
Again, I'm not convinced, and I haven't seen any theories on this or any interviews with the director or the cast, which I'll actually going to make a point of trying to find out. I'm not sure they acknowledge the second one in this film in any way.
I don't think they do.
And so I think.
I thought they were vague about it because they said like.
I think the only
the 80s were like The Walking Dead.
The only connection I think there is to the Ghostbusters 2 film is the shop that Ray's in, the bookstore.
Okay.
You know, because he has that bookstore in Ghostbusters 2, doesn't he? Ray's, I can't remember the name of it. The occult bookstore. I don't know if this is
going to work. But apparently, Jason Reitman confirms Ghostbusters 2 is still canon.
Right, fair enough.
So no other one. Oh no! I thought we were perfectly set up for another one. It might give in to fan demand eventually.
I think we're going to get another one. I think because if you're looking at the box office figures, it's done pretty gangbusters this weekend at the box office. It's had a strong opening. So I think it's going to be a big holiday film, this one, leading into Christmas.
I think the next film could potentially be stronger because I don't think they'll be tied.
Yeah,
issue.
He could do his own thing, I think, a bit more with the second one.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to get. I guarantee. I don't think we'll see Bill Murray in the next.
No, you might get Winston.
I don't think. Who?
I'm going to say I think Winston will be almost like because he's financing the Ghostbusters in the next film because of his position. So I think he's going to be like the financier of it, and then we'll get like a new team.
I'd like to see him back, but I wouldn't like to see Dan Aykroyd or Bill Murray back. I think they've done what they needed to do as a goodbye, as a tribute, really. And I don't think we need to see him again.
I think Dan Aykroyd will probably return because he's just so enthusiastic about the franchise. I think he'll probably return, but Bill Murray, not a chance.
But then it makes a glaring omission that Bill Murray's not there, doesn't it? If one comes back and the other doesn't. I'd prefer just to see, like you say, the guy... I'm terrible with names. Finance the whole thing and have him sort of in the background, and then not have any of the originals back at all. I'm
surprised Oscar wasn't in it. To be honest with you, I thought Oscar would be a character who is the baby in Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, do you know what? I couldn't remember. I couldn't think who Oscar was, but yeah, that makes a good point. Maybe he could be in the sequel. Who knows?
Because he would be. That would mean he would have been born in '88, so he would have been, would be a sort of a younger adult, which means, it would have been quite a good. You could cast someone, I don't know, Zac Efron or something, but yeah,
Paul Rudd and Zac Efron in the same film. My God, the women audience will be flocking to it.
No, it's going to make a fortune though. But I think I don't know. There's people that don't go to the cinema a lot, and then there's people like us that go loads. And all the people I know that don't really go are all going to see this. So
I hope it does do well. So I've kind of finished with my sort of my bits now, and again, I want to emphasize I didn't not like the movie. I just had some issues with it. That kind of I can still enjoy it, but I critically have to kind of be honest with myself about.
Out of the three of us,
you were doing your job.
Leo was more professional because he's critiqued it better than us.
Yeah.
We've just it was great.
Exactly.
And I don't mind, you know what I mean? I can live with it. I've always kind of been the same as well because if I go to the cinema and enjoy, I don't generally go to the cinema especially these days, to see a film unless I really want to see it.
Mm.
So I know I'm probably going to enjoy it, and occasionally I come out a little bit disappointed. But generally speaking, I won't go unless it's something I really want to see. So I always generally get a good feeling of going to the cinema. No matter what film it is, I get that feeling of being a kid again in cinemas. I really, especially when I go with my son, because we tend to go an awful lot together. And we'll like buzz in the car on the way home, just talking about it and stuff like that. And so I'm always on a high, especially if it's a film I've really enjoyed. So I've got like a euphoria when I go and watch a film at the cinema, especially a good one. So I don't really mind any of that, really. But yeah, I agree, Leo. It certainly ain't a perfect film, and critically, you could strip it off if you wanted to, but.
And this, before we went on air, we were kind of talking about the disparity between I don't know if you ever, are you familiar with Rotten Tomatoes, Lisa?
Yeah.
So on the Rotten, let me just bring up I can't put it on here, unfortunately, but the Rotten Tomatoes score, critics is 61% and audience is 96%.
Yeah,
and a lot of people are. Well,
that makes perfect sense, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it goes with your argument, Leo, in the sense that critics are actually amazingly doing the job, and the audiences are just going on emotion, which is generally how it goes. You know what I mean? And again, I'm fine with that because it's the audience members that go and pay the money. You know, that are sitting down and paying the money, and they're basically saying very strongly, "We're enjoying this. Give us more."
Give us more. They're like Oscar worthy. They're amazing. They're fantastic, and they get critical acclaim, audience acclaim. Like In the Heights is one, which was just absolutely amazing. But then you get movies like this, and you know there's all these problems with it, and you're watching it, think, well, that wouldn't happen. We shouldn't. But we still love it. And to me, you know, that's all I care about. Whether how I feel when I'm watching it. But yeah,
I'd rather watch a film like this that, you know, put so much fan service in, put so much stuff like to make you feel good, make you happy, to make you emotional, to pull on the heartstrings. I'd like any film that generally gets an emotional reaction from me is high up on my list. And this did it for me. It made me happy. It made me sad. It made me tearful. It made me, excited, exhilarated. And to me, that's what a good film should be. It's almost like a roller coaster ride. And that's what a good popcorn film should do, I think.
Yeah, popcorn. It was written for people like us that, you know, and to enter just kids who really don't critically watch anything, really. They just, do I like it? Don't I like it? That's it.
Yeah.
Can I just address one question here in case we don't get to it? Dario has asked, were there any horror elements in the movie? Sorry for the question, just trying to figure out whether to watch it or not.
There's a couple of moments in a sense of, and I said in my review that if you were a youngster going into the film, it might give you a little bit of a scare like the original did to me when I was young, like the demon voice and, you know, things like that. It's not scary, so
it's not frightening at all.
For really young children.
Say again?
Lisa's son is 10.
Yeah.
So was he like?
He loved it. He didn't find anything about it scary, so he was fine with it. I think really young kids may be a little bit but no, there's like, even when it shows like the demon dogs, I didn't find particularly scary. There was like a bit of imagery from when it was looking down into the pit, you know, the face that formed and stuff. It's a bit creepy, but nothing like, if you're a horror fan, nothing scary or anything for adults in that respect. Maybe young kids, but not adults.
I think the scariest one of this franchise is probably the library scene from the original film.
Yes, I would agree. Yeah, there's nothing even
scary thing in this whole franchise, to be honest, apart from Melissa McCarthy. Scary, but you know, I wanted to just address something that you were talking about just a minute ago, about like liking the film and then critically looking at it. So look at it the other way. So there are films that I critically can say it's a good movie, but I just don't enjoy, like Nil by Mouth, The Piano, things like that. I mean, or tend not to watch them, but there are films that I can objectively say these are good. These are critically good films, but they're not for me. I don't really enjoy them. I find them boring. It's the opposite of what I think this is. It's kind of like this film is, you can enjoy it. Well, in my opinion, and I'm not saying, this is just my opinion. You can enjoy the film and, have a good time at the movies. But I think if you're looking at it critically, then I personally feel it's a little lacking.
Yeah, I agree. It is.
Yeah,
and the Rotten Tomatoes score backs up that argument absolutely, completely. But it's.
I still think it.
Yeah.
I saw it opening night. I couldn't, and I'm glad that I did. And I still had enjoyment in it.
Yeah.
But I think it's
because of how many movies you watch, you can't help but put that sort of critical brain on when you're watching a movie, because that's what you do.
I've just noticed that behind you, Lisa, slime. I hadn't noticed it before. But I think as well with this film, it's that it's such a rarity these days just to go and watch a film and have a really good time and not feel like there's an agenda, A, from critics or B, from keyboard warriors, even though I think there will be some that will have a problem with it because it's like the anti-2016 film, and there will be people out there that still defend the 2016 film. But it's just so nice just to watch a film and just think they've just tried to give us a bit of fun, you know what I mean, and damned be the plot holes almost. And that's why I can be forgiving of a film, because you just thought, let's just give the audience a good time.
Give them what they want.
Movie
Massacre that I used to do 3 from the Grave with, he is just Ghostbusters in the head.
He loves it.
It's his favourite film of all time. Him and his wife have proper proton packs, like metal one, you wouldn't believe, looks exact. And he cried. He adored it. And that's coming from someone that's just, he knows everything inside out about the games, the movies. But I think if you're a big fan, you will love it. If you're watching it from a nostalgia point of view, you will love it. If you're a kid, you will love it. But if you're watching it if you watch a lot of movies and if you approach it with a critical brain and you really think about different things, you will find quite a few plot holes in it. I think we can all admit that.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the difference between critic and analysis and just enjoyment. That's that's the thing, isn't it? It's like I'm not saying I did enjoy this movie. I'm not saying people shouldn't enjoy this movie. But
I think all things considered, its weaknesses and all that kind of stuff, it's likely to be my film of the year so far, only because of how it's made me feel.
Yeah, it's my number 2.
I love. You what, sorry?
Does Busted make you feel good?
It did make me feel. Busted makes me feel good.
I'm surprised there wasn't like a kind of like, because with the first 2 films there was like the big kind of like pop songs, wasn't there? I'm surprised.
They don't really do that these days, though, do they?
Sorry.
They don't really do that these days with movies, do they? They don't, like in the 80s and stuff, they all had like soundtracks and stuff.
They're not really. They take an already established song usually and just stick it in, don't they? I like that we had a little bit of the original theme near in the end. I like that. It's like, yes, we get to hear a bit of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it's the little musical like kind of thing.
Shall I read these comments?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see. Winston financing the Ghostbusters could be interesting. And that's Tevye, who also says 61% is good for the Rotten Tomatoes score.
It is.
Still fresh.
Some critics feel this movie isn't as good as the 2016 movie, to which they say, screw that, this movie was much better. Yes, it was. Darren has said head split. I don't even know what that means. Thought podcast was bloody rude, asking if he could keep that whistle. I mean, really? I would have liked that whistle. That was awesome. Do you remember the whistle that made the screechy noise?
Yeah.
Then Rudd with the map. What does that mean?
Yeah, he asked for the map as well.
Yes, he does, yes. After 2020, we needed something like this that reminded us of fun movies completely. Absolutely, completely.
I cannot argue with that.
Uncomplicated, wasn't it? That just took us right back to being little kids again. That's how it made me feel anyway. I loved it. Ray Parker Jr. That's it.
So do my critiques at all change your opinion?
No.
No.
Not a bit. I think both of us admit that you've got valid points. And it's probably good that this is on here, because every single review I've seen of this, and I've watched loads, everyone's loving it and rating it and saying it was amazing, how it made them feel, how they were crying, but no one's really given proper critical analysis of it, which you've done. So you will get people that says, oh, you know, you're being too picky, but you will get people like you very much like wanting to look at it, the nitty gritty like that. So it's good that you've got that different side to things, because the rest of us are all just fangirling and boying about it over here. So it's a good thing.
Although saying that, and we did discuss it off air earlier, Leo, I do think the critical drinker, I don't know if I know you do watch him, Leo, I watch him. I thought his analysis of the film was very fair.
Yeah.
He liked it, but he pointed out the errors with it, like you have, you know. The critical drinker is I actually quite like a lot of his stuff, but he can be quite political in some of his videos, but he's also very good and he can be quite funny as well, the critical drinker.
Yeah, look that up.
It's I think we were talking about it before you joined, Lisa. So basically, this has become a bit of this is kind of going away from the review of the film really, but it's become a bit of a champion for the right wing, this movie, believe it or not. Because basically because this movie kind of a lot of the kind of the right wing, like, you know, YouTubers and stuff like that, because this ignores the 2016 movie, and because some of the kind of the critics and I think some of this, like Leslie Jones, who was in like the 2016 one, they were saying it's kind of rude that, you know, it's kind of they basically ignored that film, and it's like that. A lot of the kind of the right wing sort of YouTube channels are basically kind of like championing this film.
They ignored it.
It's anti-woke.
Exactly, they ignored it. They ignored it because it was a shit show.
Yeah. Well, they pretty much ignored Ghostbusters 2 as well, which was a really good movie. So, but really, there's no fan of Ghostbusters, to my knowledge, that I've ever spoken to that enjoyed anything about the 2016 movie. It was terrible, and that's why they ignored it. I mean, Halloween did it. They ignored tons of the sequels because they were not very good.
Yeah.
But it's nothing.
It's a completely different universe, isn't it? So it's, you know, it's
ridiculous.
You know, you can't.
They can't be part of the same universe. You know what I mean? Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd made cameos in the 2016 version. They pretended that the original Ghostbusters films didn't happen themselves. So how can they say this film has been disrespectful to them when they were disrespectful to the first two Ghostbusters? The argument isn't there, is it?
It's people wanting to argue about stuff, isn't it? To get views online, to get whatever. It is,
yeah. It's a lot like that. But it's an interesting thing to kind of point out that this film has almost become a political film when it really isn't. You know, it has no real political agenda in this film.
Political people will use whatever they can to have a political argument, and this film is about as unpolitical a film as you could possibly find.
Exactly. That's just ridiculous. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, I avoid most stuff about movies in case I read something I don't want to see. I think if I had have known they were all going to be in it at the end, I wouldn't have had the same high that I had. So I've missed all that stuff about the politics as well.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. You know, had the 2016 movie never come out, and it just kind of no one would care. But you know, that's the thing. Is it
like women's rights or something that are mad about it or something?
No,
well, I think the reason for it is there's been some and it's not many, but a couple of reviewers have said that it's a little disrespectful because it's not a continuation of the 2016, and they basically scrapped that one in favour of doing this.
But they wanted it to do well and make money, which is why they made that decision.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the 2016 was, you know, it was kind of. I mean, I don't think it did horrible box office, to be honest. It didn't do great, but it was like, obviously they want it to be. They want fans to turn up. They want to have, you know. you know, a good word of mouth and people to talk about it favorably online, and that's why they've gone with a sequel to the original rather than, you know, the sort of reboot. And obviously, people are very anti-reboots to start with, aren't they? So, you know, I think doing a sequel and doing it in having, like, you know, Jason Reitman directing, again, it kind of makes that an easier thing to kind of to swallow, really.
I don't think there's anything else they could have done other than what they did. I mean, leaving that atrocity out, that's the only thing you could do. It was awful, abysmal.
Right then, is there anything else you'd like to say about any in the comments, any questions, or any of you guys have any you want to more about, you know, talk about it anymore?
No, the comments, I'll finish with comments. Darren says, don't validate Leo. He single-handedly managed to kill the franchise. I know critical drinker, but as dead now, ghost fodder. I don't know. It's talking about someone. I don't know who. Tevye said, in fact, in my review, I said this movie was really good. So Tevye's got a YouTube channel if anyone wants to subscribe, which I will do after this. 2016 was bad. The argument that we talked about with the politics makes no sense there to him either. Her, I'm sorry if it's him or her, I'm not sure.
Clickbait, clickbait, isn't it? Yeah.
Sorry?
People do that to get clicks. People love to get outraged and
just looking for a fight. There was no way to salvage 2016's Ghostbuster movie. There wasn't. There's no excuse for it. And from a female perspective, for to do something that's an established movie that everyone loves and just put women in it just so that we've got a movie with women in it just makes most women I know roll their eyes. It's like, just stop it.
I like the way you say woman rather than women.
What?
Woman rather than women.
Is that not women?
It just sounds like woman rather than women.
Oh, right. Okay, that's just my accent. Turn on subtitles. I've been told that you need subtitles when you watch my videos because you can't understand what I'm saying. I've just told people it's good practice when you go to see Belfast. Everyone's saying they can't understand it. Everyone's got it in America. I'm sorry, but
said to me, who's that? Someone thought you were Scottish.
Yes, I get that a lot because where I'm from is the accent is quite close to Scottish, so I do. Belfast is more like a pneumatic drill, and I apologise if anybody from Belfast is like, it goes up and down.
A mix of accents on this stream.
Yeah, we do indeed. Yorkshire, yes. Darren likes your old Yorkshire accent, Aaran. He's a Yorkshireman too.
Well, this is a secret, right? Don't tell anybody.
Don't say Lancashire.
I was actually born in Lancashire.
Oh, dear me.
I was born in Lancashire, but I've lived in Yorkshire my whole life. I was only in Lancashire for like a few months as a baby, and then I've lived in Yorkshire my whole life.
We'll forgive you. You shouldn't have said that on a live stream.
I know.
It's there forever.
All right.
I think that's all our comments, is it? Got them on my phone here.
Yeah. I better go because my son and my wife are insisting that I go and watch I'm a Celebrity.
Oh yes, I'm watching it. I'll be going to watch it. Sorry, Aaran or Leo, but yes, I watched.
No, that's fine. Yeah, we could have we're kind of done anyway now. So thank you for everyone that's obviously watched this. Apologies about the bit of the snafu at the beginning. Yes. We won't be doing that mistake again. But yeah, and I posted the links everywhere for that. It's just like, oh God. Anyway, and thank you obviously to Aaran, and obviously anyone who's watching this, please go and subscribe to both Aaran at Screenstars and Lisa at Lisa Loves. I'm sure you probably already are, but give them some love, and thank you to everyone who's watching, and thank you to you guys.
Thanks very much, Larry. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.